Welcome back. In this video, we're going to focus on teams and building effective teams and selecting the right candidate for your teams and things of that nature. More and more, there is hardly any project that you can do by yourself. Almost all projects of any significant value have to be developed with a cross-functional teams of people working together to come up with the idea, to develop the idea and produce it and deliver it to people to use. So this is very much true and is becoming even more of an issue as the time goes by. So you're going to be ending up working in a team in any real jobs that you will have in the future. So here, what we're going to do, we're going to try to take some key concept in building an effective team and introduce you to some of those topics at least. Building an effective team, being an effective member of a team is an ongoing effort. It's not something that someone masters and they're done with it. This is a lifelong learning and improvement that you're engaging in. So first of all, let's talk about steps. Let's say if you were in the position of putting the team together, or you were trying to work with your other people to put a team together, what are some of the things that you should consider? One of the things is you got to think about the Herman brain model, the brain dominance model, and make sure that your team members have enough overlap in their thinking model so they can communicate well with each other, but yet they have enough non-overlapped areas such that they could be bringing new ideas to the team that are different from each other, so you could be taking advantage of everybody to their fullest. So that's great. So that would be the number one thing you want to do. The other thing you need to do, you need to make sure that you have a shared vision for your team. That's a fancy way of saying that everybody knows what is the goal of the project is. So when the project is finished, what is going to get done. So everybody's kind of lined up and pulling in the same direction as opposed to pulling in different direction. So that's the vision. Vision is kind of the long-term idea of how things will be. Objective would be the specific things that you can measure that people need to do. So everybody's got to agree and be in agreement on the team that what is the big vision of future, and also what are the specific objectives and measurables that needs to be accomplished to go to the next step. 4 would be, it's the other thing that gets in people's way is people not knowing what their roles is, what the responsibility is, who's responsible for what, who answers to whom. So it's really, really important if you want to have a really effective team to get the job done, you make sure that everybody knows what their roles is, what their responsibility is, what is the structure of the team, when is it that you have to deliver certain things. So you don't want to have any ambiguity in the process. You want to have everything to be clear, everybody understand what they're doing. And then the other thing is, you need to have a process by which you evaluate the team's performance, how well we are doing. And based on that, going back and modifying all aspects of your team, definitely the vision, the objective, execution plan, even maybe the team members, if the performance needs something that is missing and things like that. So if you don't evaluate it, you can't improve it. So these are kind of the 5 steps you can take regardless of what your team is working, whether it's a high-end technology team or is just working on a simple project trying to get something accomplished. All 4 or 5 of these organizing steps really help make for better teams. Okay, so as an engineer, what kind of teams do you end up working on? You could have a team that has other engineers on it, of course, but other folks who will end up on the team could be people from customers. In some large organization, they bring the customer to be part of the team, so they hear it directly from people who are going to use the product, what they need and how well the new product is meeting that requirement. You will have the sales and marketing folks on board. You will have all engineering discipline and development and design folks. You have testing folks on there. You will have quality control, manufacturing folks, regulatory. If it's something that has risks and regulatory issues, you have to have the regulatory folks and the risk management folks. If you have investors on board who are paying for developing this project, you have to have them on the board. So as you can see, the teams could be very, very diverse, not all engineers by any stretch of imagination. There would be from all disciplines that makes the final product successful that meet the customer needs. So you got to be, when we talk about team members, we're talking about this whole diverse group of people, not just engineers. Okay. Typically, when you put a team together, they go through some 4 distinct stages. And sometimes as the problem changes or difficulty come back, they might regress to an earlier stage and then go back forward again. And that could happen many times during the development of the project. So let's go through it. This is a very common way people talk about how teams develop and work. So the very first stage is the forming stage. That's basically when people get to know each other. They're trying to figure out, okay, how does this person like to work? How does the other person like to work? What is my role? How would I interact with them? They're in a discovery mode. They're trying to figure out how do we work together? And what are the things we like? What are the things we dislike? What are the strengths of somebody? What is the weakness of somebody? Okay, so that's called the forming. It's very polite. Typically, everybody's kind of hesitant to, but after you get used to each other, then you get into storming stage. That's the second stage. And storming, because that's the stage where everybody's trying to figure out what is the limit of things I can or cannot do? What is the limit of my team members' ability? What's the limits of my team members' patience and things like that? So everybody's trying to test to find out what the boundary conditions are for everyone. So that would, of course, cause certain level of conflict. That's a stage where you may have a certain amount of conflict within the team. And hopefully that, not all team will overcome that, but hopefully your team or the team you're part of, the storming stage is overcome and you move into the norming stage. Norming stage is the start of where we are very familiar with each other in the team. We know what different people are capable of doing, and we are starting to kind of get a feeling of how to get the job done, and we are starting to become productive in a good level. And most teams stop right here. They don't progress to the next stage. And that's norming stage is not a bad stage to be in. It's pretty good. The next stage is called the performing stage. And that is really if you've ever been a part of a performing stage, a team that is in a performing stage, it's almost like a dream team where one team member knows exactly what the other team member can and cannot do, and is always ready to use their strength to complement the other team member's weakness and vice versa. So these are the teams that you see that seems like they're effortlessly producing a huge amount of results. Whether it's a product, whether it's a service, they seem to be kind of really not working that hard, but always generating a huge amount of results. And if you've ever been part of one of these teams, you're there. Everything is effortless. Everything happens just the right way. There is hardly any. A lot of conversation doesn't even have to happen between these team members because they know each other so well. They're so well tuned to each other and so focused on getting the job done that nothing falls on the floor. Somebody will step in and take care of the problem. Now, teams usually do go from forming to storming to norming, maybe make it to performing, maybe not. And then sometimes as the problem changes or as difficulty comes out, a performing team may fall back to norming, back to storming, back to forming, and back up again. Every time they go through this cycle, it becomes a little bit faster typically. And by the way, adding just one additional person to a team will bring them all the way back to a forming because it changes the composition of the team. But if it's a good team, if it's a strong performing team, they'll go through all the stages very quickly and get back to performing. So this is good. This gives us a vocabulary, gives you a language to talk about team developments of where you are and so if somebody asks for us, what are the stages? and where we are. What we do is we know there are 4 stages, and we have to look at signs of where we are. Are we trying to learn about each other? Or how are we trying to test each other's limits? Are we kind of know each other and performing at a norming stage, or are we in a performance stage where everything just happens perfectly with very little effort seemingly very little effort going into it? Okay, so those are the stages. The one last thing to leave you with, there are some tools that your team could use to help improve your performances. Things such as having a team mission statement and objectives that's clear for everybody, having a project plan with a timeline so everybody knows when what needs to happen, clear roles definition for the team, some ground rules of what is acceptable, what's not acceptable, a list of issues and tasks as they come up, as they change, so everybody's aware of everything that's going on, and making sure that team members are evaluated and helped if they need help to improve or whatever. And it's really important for team evaluation to not just be the supervisor for the team, but be all the way around, peers evaluating each other, people below evaluating the supervisor and all of that. So they call that a 360 view of your team. So these would be some tools that you can kind of take on and use to improve your team performance. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.